Samuel Rutherford, Scottish minister, wrote a book defying the king. It was entitled Lex Rex, means the law is king. Someone said one time, I'm so glad we don't have a king. And someone else said to them, we do of a sort. The Constitution is our king. Everybody swears an allegiance to it. Military, political. The Constitution is a wonderful document. It was crafted from a definitively biblical worldview. But we serve a higher law than that, and that is God's law. And that's why we're so engaged, so committed to seeing the day come in Oklahoma when every child conceived in the womb is safe and can anticipate a happy, healthy birth, God willing. We're here because incrementalism, well-intended, I'm not going to judge anybody's motives, incrementalism has not been effective. I'll cite numbers to you that I cited the other night. In 2016 in Oklahoma, there were 4,294 abortions that we know of. Reported abortions. In 2017, 4,723. That's an increase of 10%. In 2018, 5,014. That's an increase up to 10.6%. If that continues, if we run that line, in 2019, there may well be 5,565 abortions in Oklahoma. Incrementalism has not been effective. We need to start asking some questions of people, of our legislators, of faith leaders even, who are supporting bills that in the end will not change these statistics. One of the questions I want to ask is, how many abortions is too many abortions for you? Because you see, the abolitionist movement is a dot. It is a period. In fact, it's an exclamation point. It's going nowhere. It doesn't move. It doesn't budge. It's period. Zero. Anything other than that is on a continuum. It's on a sliding scale. That's pro-life bills all the way to pro-choice, abortion on demand at any time, even so-called fourth trimester abortions, abortions after birth has come. You see, we've got to face the facts. That pro-life bills that do not call for the immediate abolition of abortion are simply pro-abortion light. We don't need to be mean when we say that, but that's the facts. How many abortions are you comfortable with? Because right now we have over 5,000. And to this point, there's not been a bill passed in the Oklahoma legislature that gives us any encouragement that that number will downturn. It will only climb. So what can Oklahoma Baptists do? Well, you've already heard about the resolution that was passed. I think I can assure you, if God lets us live, that will not be the only thing being passed next November when we meet again for our annual meeting. 1 Timothy 2, 1-8, Paul said, "First of all then, I urge that supplications, prayers, intercessions, and thanksgivings be made for all people." The first thing we must do is pray. Pray, brothers and sisters. You pray earnestly. Pastors should call upon their congregations to pray. Folks, if we can't get our people excited and engaged in praying about sparing the life of the unborn, we're done. We're done. I don't really have any hope of an awakening coming to our country as long as we stand by and let the unborn be slaughtered. In Germany, there were churches that were near the railroads. One of the churches was recorded that when the trains carrying the people to the slaughter would come by, and the people were crying out, the screams, that they would sing louder when the trains came by to drown out the screams. Carrying on in worship will not get it done as long as the screams are going on. And so we must pray. We must secondly educate and encourage. Educate and encourage the leadership of your church to lead the congregation to pass a resolution calling for the abolition of abortion. I want to tell you, there's some men here from the Lawton area, Christ-centered churches. There's a pastor here from Muskogee. You need to tap into these people. They can help you craft a wonderful resolution. Churches need to act. We need to get mobilized. Educate and encourage the pastors in your association, your local association, to pass a resolution calling for the abolition of abortion, and then to contact their respective state representatives and senators, encouraging them to support SB 13 and not be distracted. I was talking to Russell the other night. When I see what's going on the landscape, it's like SB 13 is a laser beam. It is a laser beam. It is clear, it is bright, it has pierced the night sky, and these folks are running around with these little laser pointers doing this. And every now and then it passes the laser beam, but it's a distraction. I'm not suggesting motives. I'm not saying they're doing it as a distraction. I'm saying that's the effect of it. Associations, gatherings made up of local churches geographically need to pass a resolution calling for the abolition of abortion. We need to educate and encourage the pastors and congregations who are members of the Baptist General Convention of Oklahoma to contact. I love what I saw here tonight. In fact, I saw my senator's name on here, and I'm encouraged with the reports because I was on the phone with him 2 weeks ago, and I was encouraged by what he said. I plan to see him while I'm in town. But what y'all said about him, J.D. Dawson, that fires me up. I saw my representative too. And I plan to talk to my representative. Contact these people. Be kind. Be loving. Be charitable. I said the other night, and I stand by this, I think there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of disinformation that has gone out. Our role is to educate and encourage. Give the benefit of the doubt. Believe them that they're going to do the best. And when they've taken that away, then we take another tactic. If we pass these resolutions in churches and the momentum begins to build, we're going to see some things happen. We will probably be forming, I'm leaving this to the strategies of the Christ-centered churches, we will probably be forming something like the Oklahoma Baptists for abolishing abortion. We will communicate. We will use vehicles to communicate and educate throughout this state, every church in the state. We also need to plan, Oklahoma Baptists, to come to the convention in November. It's an open convention. What we call open, that means there's not a sitting president. Our current president, Blake Gideon, is serving his second term. We need to nominate and elect abolitionist candidates to the presidency of the Oklahoma Baptist Convention. In our structure, a president doesn't have a whole lot of power, but he has some appointive powers. And he is a voice. And I'm believing that our current president will be a voice for abolition. I'm going to believe that and trust the Lord for that. But we need to vote in the future to be sure that that is the case, not leave that up for grabs. Then you need to educate your representative and your senator. Don't assume going in that they understand what you understand. You've got to cut through the disinformation, the fear-mongering that Oklahoma will be left without any laws to protect the unborn. You know as well as I do, if a law goes into effect that calls abortion murder, you don't need another law to protect the unborn. In 1952, February of 1952, a 40-year-old mother of four found out she was pregnant with her fifth child. She was a devotedly Christian woman who was married to an abusive husband. He could not be depended upon to provide for the well-being of the family, so she worked as an Avon cosmetics lady, selling cosmetics door to door to make sure that her family had food and shelter. The doctors expressed serious concern about her being pregnant at the age of 40, given her circumstances at home, and advised her to seriously consider an abortion. But as a devout Christian, she believed that God's the one who opens the womb, and that enabled her to conceive, and that children were a blessing from Him. The pregnancy proved to be challenging, and she delivered a baby boy in September, 2 months premature. He weighed 4 pounds, 15 ounces. Given these difficulties, the doctors strongly advised her to avoid getting pregnant again. But almost 5 years later, she was pregnant with her sixth child. The doctors pressed her this time to have an abortion for the sake of her own health, since she would be 45 years old when she delivered, and in light of the result of the premature birth of the previous child. Again, she refused. In January 1957, she gave birth to another boy. He was born with a pneumatic frailty, and shortly after his birth, he developed a serious whooping cough that appeared would take his life. But by God's grace, he survived and grew to be a healthy baby boy. Now, why should any of this matter to you? For those of you here who are Southern Baptists and familiar with Founders Ministries, imagine for a moment what life would be like in our current situation in the Southern Baptist Convention if Dr. Tom Ascol had been aborted. You see, I was the 4 pound, 15 ounce boy. We need to put a face to this. And by God's grace, my baby brother was not aborted. And yet he could be under HB 1182. Health of the mother, tragic circumstances, difficult previous pregnancy. She fits all the categories. We've got to get dead serious about this. You could say, and Tom didn't give me permission to say this, you could say that Tom is the face of choice. That's what it looks like. Our law is God's law. We operate by His law. In fact, William Blackstone, I'll cite this tomorrow at the rally, said that no enactment of law should be considered legitimate if it does not comport with God's law. When you follow his teachings, he was a jurist out of Oxford. His commentaries on the laws of England were read as standard material in law schools in this country until secular humanism wiped them out. He understood that any law enacted should line up with one or more of the 10 Commandments and not contradict it. And thou shalt not kill is about as clear as it gets. Jesus was approached by a lawyer who asked him a question, "Teacher, which is the great commandment?" He said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment. And a second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as you love yourself." We need to think, and Dusty was sharing this with me the other day, in terms of concentric circles of concern. If we're going to love God with all of our being, we have to love our neighbor as ourselves. And there's a little neighbor out there that's being ignored. We need to love him. We need to love her. So you start in circles with yourself. Perhaps you haven't been engaged. Perhaps you have, as someone mentioned, perhaps you've had an abortion. There is forgiveness with God. You see, the law is great. The gospel is greater. And grace and forgiveness is available. Repent. Forgive yourself. Get in the battle. Don't let the devil lie to you that you're wasted, you're damaged goods, it's too late for you. No, it's not. No, it's not. You must learn to ask the right questions. Not will it work? Not will this, what will this law, what does God think of this? Will it honor God? Will it please God? In family, in church, as I suggested, the church is mobilizing, the association is mobilizing, the State Baptist Convention mobilized. I want to leave you with this. We're in this battle for the life of the unborn. I want to leave you an acrostic. How do you fight this battle, all right? L, love. Be loving. If we're to love our enemies, surely we can love legislators who have not caught up to speed in where they ought to be on these bills. Love them. When someone says to someone going in, knowing we're coming to represent life, and they say, be kind, they shouldn't have to say that to us. Love them. Love them to the right position. Inform them. Don't teach down to them. Don't talk down to them, but be someone who teaches. Share. Let them know what you've learned. Because you see, we were ignorant once. We were ignorant. It hadn't been that long ago, brothers and sisters, that I was not promoting the abolition cause. I was a pro-lifer. I'm an abolitionist because somebody taught me. Inform. Be winsome in informing. F, face them. Face them. Go in to see them. You could also use face for fire them up. You're going to see some people turn. You're going to see them turn. When they do, we need to be their biggest cheerleaders. Biggest cheerleaders. Because one of their fears is that we're going to say, well, told you so. No, we're not going to say told you so. We're going to say sick them. Sick them. Make it happen. Finally, E, encourage them. Challenge them to do the right thing. They're under pressures. People with money, big pockets, deep pockets. There are people who cannot afford for abortion to go away. Encourage them. Let's fight the battle for life as people who know what life is, who've been brought to the one who said, I came that they might have life. Because I think the winds are blowing. And we can pray, oh, come, wind of God, and breathe upon these bones. And we will see it. By God's grace, we will see it. God bless you.